Now, many months ago, we had a conversation here on the channel that talked a little bit about the PMC world, the Shadow Company, Commander Graves, and the Shadows kind of having maybe their own full-on Call of Duty game. Now, some of the feedback that I got from there was they're too small scale to have a story surrounded around them. They're maybe too controversial. Maybe there's actually a big portion of the fan base that absolutely hate Commander Graves for the crimes committed against Task Force 141 and the crimes committed against Las Almas, Mexico. There's also another portion of the fan base that really likes Commander Graves, that thinks he's a charismatic character, that thinks that you should lean into his traits, and you might have an anti-hero or a very broken and twisted character that can improve and grow and potentially change or have this great resolution, this great redemption. And I think when you think of some of the great characters in gaming, some of the really just all-time great characters, they are a little bit broken. They have done terrible things, but then they rise to do something better. They're not perfect human beings. They're not these people that did so much good and did good always. Take Arthur Morgan, for example. He did unspeakable crimes probably before Red Dead Redemption 2 starts off, and he talks a little bit about it. He talks about how he was never a good man, how he's done all these bad things, but he tried in the end and he achieved something great. He redeemed himself. You look at Joe Miller, all the terrible things that he had to do to survive the outbreak after losing his daughter. He was in a dark place for 20 fucking years, and he found something to fight for in Ellie. And then you have Kratos going on this killing spree of all the Greek gods and the entire Greek pantheon. Now, he got duped, he got tricked, and he killed his family, and he had this revenge that he wanted. But still, all the terrible things that he did and all the killing, and look at what he became later on and years into the future with his son Atreus. He had some change of heart. He grew as a person. And so I take all of these three examples because they are from some of my three all-time favorite games. And then you have somebody like Commander Graves, who committed bad crimes, who maybe was self-centered, who maybe thought that money and power and all these things gave him a reason to be better than others. Well, what if something happens? What if he were to lose the Shadow Company? What if something terrible happened to him in his personal life that made him reconsider everything that he's done? That can lead into a very interesting story focused on Commander Graves, the Shadow Company, and the dark, shadowy world of the PMCs. We talked again a bit about this in a video dedicated for that, where I specifically talked about what could happen in a Shadows game. But I wanted to take a different approach here. I think looking deeper into Commander Graves and adding other characters around him is a perfect way to continue that kind of modern warfare legacy without actually being a modern warfare game. I have been a strong ass advocate for leaving Black Ops and Modern Warfare in the past for a few years. I think that Call of Duty is at a point where it needs to leave Black Ops alone. It needs to leave Modern Warfare alone for, man, I will venture on to say for like about 7 or 8 years. You need to have brand new sub-franchises that new characters come in and grow and expand the world or the universe of Call of Duty. If that's what you want to do, that's what I think needs to happen. And I think the perfect way to slowly lean into that would be to do some sort of kind of spin-off story on one of the more popular characters in the Modern Warfare universe, but really concentrate on him. And it could be Commander Graves. I think that he could carry the game. I think that he has enough charisma. I think the actor is good enough, Warren Cole, to be able to carry most of the game. Now, in the structure of a Call of Duty campaign, you get about 6 to 7, 8 hours if you're being generous for a campaign. I think that you take the examples of Call of Duty Ghost, you take the examples of Call of Duty Vanguard. And I'm choosing those two specifically because they're more of a smaller scale story that is driven by one ultimate goal. Modern Warfare is always this big global conflict where the world is on the brink of chaos. The world is on the brink of World War III. Things are about to explode. Nukes, death, war against everybody. That's what Modern Warfare has always felt like. And you feel like you're Task Force 141 and you're fighting to stop something really bad to happen, right? And then if you look at Black Ops, you have this also like big scale type of war, but it's all in the shadows. There's this shadowy organization out there that's trying to take over the world, and you are going on this crazy mind-bending journey to try to stop it. These big global scale things are kind of what have made Call of Duty, but at the same time, we have had stories stories in the past that are a little bit more centered, a little bit more calm, a little bit more smaller scale. And I think when you go into the smaller scale stories, you get to dive more deep into the human parts of each character, into the human nature of what these characters are doing and why they're doing it. Sometimes when you have this big global scale, these big wars, you don't really get to dive deep into the mind of the character as much, or why he's doing what he's doing, because there's no time to slow down. You're going from one point to another point to another point, and everything is hectic and crazy and loud. And so I think a spin-off where the writing is a bit better, a little bit more stronger, a little bit more tight, that has real consequences and introduces a new crop of side characters would be awesome. Now, you could have some characters make a brief appearance from Modern Warfare, like Kate Laswell or Alex Keller, something like that, just very little, but like kind of passing, just to say, oh yeah, this is still in the same world I remember. Or maybe a flashback that takes you into something that happened between Commander Graves and one of these characters. But the game itself wouldn't just be focused on Commander Graves only and the Shadow Companies only. Maybe it could be focused on other private military companies working around that same area, and it shows some of the peers of Commander Graves, and then you get to play as some of them and doing other things. I think my point is, you can have a story that is centered about the world of the PMCs with Commander Graves as a focal point, and it shows his, and you get to play as some of his shadows, and then you play as another PMC and you get to play as some of their guys, and kind of stuff like that. You know what I mean? My point is that if you can get a smaller scale story to work, it's something that it's fresh, it's something that's new, it's something that can make completely new maps for us when you're playing multiplayer, completely change up the Warzone map into something brand new, completely new locations, no Al Mazrah, no Farah, no nothing like that, just new maps, new areas, and it'll finally give you this feeling of a brand new Call of Duty game, a truly brand new game. And you could call it Call of Duty PMCs, you could call it Call of Duty Shadows, you could call it Call of Duty whatever you want, I don't know, but I would love to see something like that. I would love to see Call of Duty approach these stories in a very different way. And the campaigns for Call of Duty, the stories for Call of Duty have been better than your other first-person shooter campaigns that are out there that are based on the military or based on what Call of Duty does. And I think they have the potential. I think they have the power, the money to buy and contract some of these people to write a story that's good. I think a smaller scale story like this would be perfect, and it would be needed to kind of reinvent what Call of Duty is. And I'm not saying this would work just for Commander Graves and the Shadow Company. I think it could work for anything. Just create a smaller scale story, focus on somebody new, maybe somebody that we already know, but expand their world and expand everything else and have a whole new cast, you know, stuff like that. There's so much that Call of Duty can do, and I hope that they can start doing that. I hope they can start taking advantage of that and leave Black Ops and Modern Warfare. Just let them rest for a little bit. That would be amazing.